Jersey. Come on. Get lively.
There
we go, guys. All right. So I know it's the end of the day, but I promise you that all of you are going to want to hear this. As Mark said, you know, we all struggle with recruiting. But recruiting is not just about putting a Facebook post up or a LinkedIn post or even, you know, speaking to people and saying, hey, do you know any good people? There's more to it. And I have to tell you that every single time I do one of these moderating panels, I learn. I personally get to speak to these people before we get up here. And I get to know the inner workings of their past, their present, and where they're going. And the insight and the education and the value of what they have to offer, this is valuable. And this is something that for all of you, whether you are looking to recruit right now, whether you're looking to recruit in the future, you need to listen to this. Because this is stuff that you're not going to find just by chance. You want to hear it from these experts, okay? So we've got 55 minutes right now for us to dive into this and really understand not just how to recruit, but, you know, figuring out how to recruit, how to onboard, how to have a great company culture. Because honestly, guys, if you don't have that foundation set, it's going to be very difficult to keep people engaged and keep them at your company. This expert panel is going to share some of the ways that they're doing that. And they're going to be very open and very raw. So let's do this. All right, here we go. So, great, yes. Give some energy, guys, energy. All right. Okay, we're going to start with Mike.
Okay.
All right, Mike, here we go. Let's start. There's a perception that brokers need to be small. That brokers never grow to a larger level. They stay as a small broker. Please tell us your thoughts on that perception or misconception.
Well, it's obviously a misconception. Look, people do it all the time. Everybody says that everything's impossible until somebody does it, right? So, I mean, a lot of people are, you know, going against a broker, and a lot of the retail guys will say that we can't do this. You can't grow. You can't do it. You got to become creative because you only got certain margins to play with, certainly.
Right.
But it's absolutely possible. In fact, it's downright easy if you're committed to it. If you just do the things necessary to stay within your means.
Right.
So it's the naysayers who say that, I think they're more afraid that that we're going to grow.
Right.
You know, is that we're going to get that market share back. We're going to get over 50%.
Right, and I have to ask you, Mike, because, I mean, you know, I ask everyone, where are you looking to go?
Oh, let's have no doubt about it. I'm going to be the #1 broker in the country by loan officer count.
You heard it. You heard it. Mike says he is going to be the #1 broker in the country.
Well, we're not going to be done there. After that, I'm going to go after Fairway. So I'm going to go after the other.
There you go. Mike's on a mission. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. So Zach, one of the interesting points that I got from our conversation is that you've had quite a varied background. Loan officer, net branches, different levels that you offer. When you're recruiting, you kind of give lots of options.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So at Home First, we usually, when we onboard and talk to new loan officers that are looking to join us, one of the first things we say is we're not a one-size-fits-all company. So Home First Lending its background started as a net branch, so we've operated branches, we've had teams, we've had down to loan partners, loan officers, inside, outside, ISAs calling on internet leads. And what we really try to do is make sure that we identify what somebody's looking to do. We don't want to limit our potential and growth. So if somebody comes to us and they say that they want to be on a branch manager model or a P&L model, we're going to try to find a way to make that work for them if they're a good fit for organization, not necessarily say rigid to one particular comp plan.
Great, great. That's fabulous. Fantastic. All right, so we all know Everybody is looking for the top producers, right? We're all searching for those unicorns out there, so to speak. So Christine,
Yeah.
how do you recruit a top producer?
Yeah. So over the years that I was senior vice president, I had about 80 recruiting managers. And what we found with top producers is you have to kind of break down who they obviously are. First of all, they're very, very, very busy people. So we all know if you're in a top producing bracket, you do not want the disruption of your business flow. So a lot of them are reluctant to move because they don't want to disrupt the flow of their service to their clients, to their realtor partners. And there's a sense with top producers of when is the best time. And so I would tell you, strategically speaking, you got to look at the whole cyclical, seasonal calendar year for starters. And you need to look at what is the greatest time to fish for whales. When are top producers most likely at the low end of their pipeline willing to engage with you, and understand also that these are not the people that are going to say yes to a marriage proposal on a first date. So there's an incubation period, there's a period of time that obviously you're pursuing them. So it's a long game pursuit. You obviously want to understand emotionally where the breaks are. You want to be watching for the breaks. So I think part of what top producers want is they want to be somewhere that's a cultural fit. They want to have a really robust toolbox. You know, as brokers in this room, I would tell you if you're competing to try to get retail lenders over, you know, they're showered. Obviously, we know that there's, you know, the retail lenders are top heavy with management and toolbox and all that stuff, and you guys compete on product and rate, but you're going to have a retail LO that's not going to want to lose those tools. So what do you bring to the table? What's your value proposition? Then there's the E-Link. I'll finish with this. If I'm a top producer, I look at my career. My last 24 years, I had 2 jobs. That's it. 12 years in senior management with H&R Block Mortgage, which was the sister company of Option One. 12 years with Annie Mac Home Mortgage. And so I didn't move, you know, and I was a top producer and managing top producers. But what made me move? So I relate to the fact that when I made my moves, my 3 or 4 moves in my 30-year career, it was because there was an emotional, compelling reason that I wanted to break from where I was. I was either unhappy with leadership, or there was, you know, at some point in my career, I was restricted because the products had changed. We had been assumed by another lender, and all of a sudden my market area was crunched from a product perspective, and I couldn't service my, my referral partners. So I think if you're trying to get top producers, first of all, it's like anything. Most guys don't want to recruit the top producers. I got a lot of reluctance. I would say we want to go after, you got to have a, you know, 40,
So is it more 50%. Of a long-term play where you're almost, you know, go back to Matt Ishba, you know, with Michigan State. Is it almost like a recruiting effort with a situation where you're kind of watching that top player and you're kind of analyzing their emotion at that time and kind of saying, okay, I see something that I can kind of hook into and go for them.
Yeah, and you have to be willing to do it though.
Right.
A lot of people aren't willing to go after the big players because they say, well, they're already happy where they are.
Right.
So those assumptions are made. So yes, it's a long game. You got to watch for it, but you got to be willing to fish in that pool, and you will get them.
Right. And again, that may not be for everybody, and that's okay. That's the whole point, and that's actually why we're going down the panel, because that's not everybody's strategy at all. Yeah. So that's that part of it. All right. Awesome. All right. So Ramon.
Yeah.
Since February of this year, you've added 40 loan officers, which is amazing. I mean, that in itself is awesome, all right? So I know you've been deep in recruiting efforts and really, you know, focusing in on that. Tell us, how did you go about it?
Yeah, so I was, you'll see on my name up there, it says top originator. So the previous 6 years since I've gotten to the business, I'm focused on originating myself, okay? I added a couple of LOs to kind of duplicate my system, but we are lead buyers. You know, we're buying Lending Tree, Zillow, Organic, doing all that sort of thing. I wasn't interested in recruitment or adding any outside LO for that matter, right? Not until the end of last year when I started to get phone calls, from some retail loan officers. So never before in my history, my 6-year career, had I gotten a phone call from a retail loan officer asking to join my panel. So I'm like, nope, I don't add outside loan officers. So that's around October of last year. Then November, I get some more calls, right? Then a friend of mine who's in the retail side asked to join. So I was like, what is going on here, right? What is going on? So I started to do more investigation, more research about the retail side of the business. And what I discovered was, I was like, wait a minute, there's an amazing opportunity here. So I put, as part of the business plan for 2019, very late in the year, in 2018, a pillar of recruitment, okay? So proof of concept throughout January, figure out what it is these retail LOs are actually looking for, what's gonna be our value proposition, how do I get in front of them? 'Cause that's a big problem, right? That's our biggest problem for anything, whether we want a client or whether we want a loan officer. It's getting out in front of that person. So put together this system or whatnot, tried it through January, it looked like it was gonna work, then boom, set a goal, started speaking about the goal, like I wanna have 100 LOs within a year. So February 2019 to February 2020, I will have at least 100 LOs. So,
And I'm sure you will.
Yeah, so going down that path, we're at 40 now. So what did I do? What did I figure out in that short period of time? One thing about me is I'm a big listener. Like I listen more than I talk. So I'm kind of interviewing these MLOs, learning their side of the business, and things started to jump out to me. Number one thing that jumped out to me was that they were losing their existing book of business. This has a lot to do with price. They are normally able, I see on average, because I'm talking to a lot of these loan officers, these retail loan officers. They normally were able to capture about 80% of their book, but during the first quarter and even to date, they're only able to recapture about 50% because of the pricing structure. So we're much stronger on pricing on the wholesale side. Secondly, they're discouraged from taking loans through any other channel outside of the warehouse line within their retail bank, right? You guys know what I mean by that? They have to put the loans through their own lender, otherwise their commission could be cut in half. So you're looking at, in my area at least, you're looking at these loan officers that make about 100 bips, 115 bips per file. I'm willing to come in at 150 bips. I don't care where you take the loan. Take the loan to the client take the loan to the lender that's given the best deal, right? And you get a raise in a sense. So that was the initial conversation that got people very interested. I backed that up. I kind of have a background in IT and finance. I backed that up with making sure that I have technology, like we have an app, just like any other retail lender. We have all these pieces, CRM, this and that, where they're not losing too much by coming over from the retail side. So that's extremely important. Really? They are used to a lot of support. And I was able to deliver that for two reasons. One, I have the technology pieces in place, okay? So you gotta work, and it's not hard to do, it's just talking to a couple of vendors and signing up and understanding how to use the tools, right? So I had that piece in place. I had the pricing in place, so it made a lot of sense for these individuals to come over and make the leap. It was comfortable transition for them. Because listen, it's not easy. It's sort of a 60-day cycle from when you initially have a conversation with them until they're actually ready to make the move. Because you got to think it's their families that they're depending on them. It's a lot of things at stake. So you have to stick with them. It's not a quick sale in a sense. So those are some of the things that I've done to initially get the conversations and to get the people in. But as we go through the day, I'll kind of talk about what I'm going to do to make them stick.
Right. Now, I know your approach. You don't necessarily say you need X amount of experience, or you don't need experience, or your market is this versus that.
Yeah.
I think you're kind of similar to Zach, that's kind of, it's not one size fits all. You're similar to that, right? That
Right.
you can pretty much handle all of them.
Right. I'm open to taking anybody in. Our carrying cost for a loan officer is not extremely high, right? The way I think about it is, if your business is your house, a lot of companies out there have somebody at the front door saying, you can come in, you can't come in, you can't come in. I don't do that so much. My front door, side door, back door is completely open, right? But if you come to the stairs and try to get to the second floor, there is somebody there saying, hey, you can't get to the second floor, you don't do enough loans, or you need more help, or you need more training. And on the second floor is my time. right? So if you're, and my kind of high level, all the other high level people in my company, the ones that assist and support, their time as well. So we do concentrate on making sure that we're developing the individuals that are doing business, or at least have the capability of doing business, but we don't discourage anyone from joining us. So if you're new to the business, then we're gonna help you. We are gonna help you try to, get to first base, and then run to get in second. If you are re-entering the business, that's fine as well, because as I'll speak to later on, we have a value proposition, or my goal is one that will really help all loan officers in a sense, and it's something that not a lot of companies pay attention to, and it's not their priority.
Wow, great stuff. So now it seems like we're going into a little bit further into now we've hired. So before we jump to that, Mike, what's your approach? What's your strategy in terms of how you recruit?
So the actual physical act of it, or?
Yeah.
So, I mean, as far as how we recruit, most of ours is word of mouth, right? So we do weekly meetings with the entire company,
I love this.
right?
Yeah,
Every single
please share.
Tuesday
This is great.
at 9 a.m., like clockwork, we're doing a national meeting, and we have loan officers from Seattle to Fort Lauderdale. And so we have a platform where everybody within the company can get on at any given time and bring up any concerns, call me out if they're not getting what they wanted, anything whatsoever, right? And in that, we encourage them. So, guys, you remind other people about Nexa. Remind them about the great things that we're doing. Tell your retail buddies where you came from that they don't have to be stuck in those environments, that there's a better platform out there, that they have all that support they were talking about and then some.
Right.
When they come into a broker environment, you just got to join the right broker, or as a broker, you've got to set up that ability to support them is the thing. So most of ours is word of mouth, but we do Facebook ads, we have some text campaigns, we have some LinkedIn campaigns that go out, and we have a couple of guys who really blow it up on social media a lot and
Right.
just kind of really go after it. But most of it is really done by word of mouth through
Right.
our other loan officers.
Which is your best
yeah.
advocate, right? I mean, someone internally that can be your, promoter is going to be better than anything.
Don't
So-
take my word for it. Go ask the people
Absolutely.
who trusted us and trusted their families to us.
Yes,
right? So,
that's right. Absolutely.
Right.
So, Zach, I know that you have, a wide variety of different recruiting methods, but one that you touched on, I actually heard you on a podcast speaking about finding some gold in people that are not in the mortgage business. So, talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So our recruiting strategy has changed over the years. And when we first really started taking off and building our sales team, the first place I naturally went was to try to find licensed loan officers. And when our sales team really started, probably exploding back in, let's call it about 5 years ago when we started really recruiting, most of the people that we were attracting at that time, I mean, the business was doing well for the people that stuck with it, but during that time, 5 to 6 years ago, were a bunch of individuals that were coming back that did very well in the subprime days, and they were getting back in, and they didn't understand the new way of doing business. Me being a millennial, I had friction with some of those individuals, and they weren't learning the new ways of doing business. At that time, you all know that we're in the business in 2012, 13, 14, and so on. You had to hustle for every deal that you got. And a lot of those individuals that were coming into the organization, they were used to subprime days where the deals were just falling on your lap. So they weren't willing to do the things that we wanted to do, and I quickly realized that, and if I wanted to scale this quickly, I would need to go out and find some more people that had the competencies that I was looking for. So as an example, I started asking people, who do you know and who's great at customer service? Who knows this? Who knows that? Some of my top producers today, for instance, my now director of business development, who's did over 100 units last year. He was a 23-year-old kid who worked at Chase in the loss mitigation department during loan modification days and had a pipeline of 400 individuals that he needed to hit every 48 hours, and he got awards and everything, but he was in corporate America. He had a ceiling. He couldn't grow. That's somebody I wanted to bring in and said, listen, I can teach you the way. Very much like Ramon here, we are very heavy on internet leads. We co-market a lot on Zillow, Realtor.com and such. So we had a platform to be able to bring LOs in and essentially call on those leads and do customer service calls, have a small questionnaire, and then pass it off to a licensed loan officer once they got to that point. So we slowly started growing people through that mentorship program where they had 90 days to get licensed. They were limited on their activities they can do, and it turned out to be very fruitful. Then we started saying, you know what? Why don't we look at some processors and some other people in our organization who are really, really great with people and have a desire maybe to make a little bit more money, but didn't know how to do it, and said, hey, would you be interested in sales? And our number 2 top producer in our company was my personal processor for 3 years. My other right-hand loan partner, who averages about 15 units a month, she was a closer. She was my office manager. There's people within all of your organizations right now that are top producers, and you don't even know it because they're scared to go into sales. And just because you bring somebody in as a loan officer doesn't mean that they need to go out and recruit their own business. So as our recruiting efforts evolved, of course, am I going to bring on a great loan officer or try to recruit them for another company or do some of the things that you hear up here? But I started also to realize that certain people are rainmakers and other people are not, and it's that simple. But I can go out and find really great loan officers that maybe don't know how to bring the business in or don't have a desire to have that anxiety, and make them loan partners, and they can service our clients and do a great job and let the people go out who are going to go do the thing. So I'm looking for the right people to put in the right positions and support them that way, because, you know, I woke up one day, you know, less than 2 years ago, and I was frustrated that, you know, if you have a team of 10 loan officers as an example, everybody wants to teach each loan officer how to do 10 deals a month, right? But the reality is that not all 10 of those loan officers want to or are capable of doing 10. But each one of us who are leaders here in this room have people in our organization who maybe are doing 5, 6, 7, 8 deals, and we put the right support underneath them, and now we can close 20. So the name of the game, it's different for everybody. You can recruit 150 loan officers who do 2 to 3 deals a month, or you can recruit 10 loan officers who do 10 deals a month and teach them how to do it. At the end of the day, the end goal is to help as many families as possible. It doesn't have to mean that you have 100 loan officers in your organization. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I don't want to have 100 loan officers in my organization if I get to that one day, but I just want to make sure that we're putting the right people that are the right fit for our
And
organization.
I think that's an excellent point. And it's going to vary for every company. Everybody has to make those decisions internally, and that's a great thing. Go ahead.
I just want to throw in there too, because you're talking about, how you're recruiting, how you're getting out in front of these people. And for me, and maybe for a lot of you out there, you maybe 4 months ago for me is where I was at 0. Loan officers outside of the 4 inside people that I have that work the lead. So how do you go from 0 to getting the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th? So me, when you're a lead person, that kind of goes into you looking at data, and then you can kind of start to say, well, I'm a data individual, and that's really how I kind of describe myself now. I'm into looking at data and figuring out how to use that data to get to whatever end goal I want, right? So for me, when I thought about this, so I put together the value proposition, all this stuff. Great, these loan officers are gonna love this, right? So I'm like, I hired a recruiter. I was like, call a couple of them. That was extremely slow. That didn't work. That didn't work out very well. So I'm like, I need to figure out, just like my leads. I buy a ton of leads because I know it's going to take X amount of leads in order for me to close this many deals. So I took that same strategy with going after loan officers. Now, I'm approved in 17 states now, and in the month will be 18 and 19. So I'm like, I have a big market share, right? And I did that some years ago. I got into all these states, although my main office is just in California. I got into all these states because I wanted my lead price to go down, right? I didn't want to just buy in California. So if I was buying across multiple states, the average cost comes down because it's cheaper to buy a lead in Kentucky than California and Tennessee and all that sort of thing, right? But now it actually wound up being great. I never knew that this would be advantageous for me because now I have this big pool that I'm able to pull from for loan officers, right? So how do I get all these people's information? So that's what I did. I figured out how to go out and get every single person that has a state's license information. So now I have their email, I have their phone number, if they have an NMLS license, right? So now I go and I send them what my value proposition is via email. And yeah, it's just like leads, 1%, 2% sort of response rate or return, but so what? I have 190,000 addresses, right? 190,000 pieces of contact information. So that's what you've got to do. If you want to do it on your state level, go out, get all the data, right? Put together your value proposition, and then find out what medium you're going to use to get in front of them, whether it be email, whether it be text, whether it be one time a week, whether it be every other day. So whatever it is that you're wanting to, put together, you have to go out and get that data and figure out how to get that value proposition in front of them. But that's how you start from zero.
Yeah.
Can I add
Yeah,
too?
of course.
I think that you exploit your success from that point.
Absolutely.
I think that the multiplier too is that when you get these LOs into these seats is that, top producers are going to join healthy organizations. They're going to join organizations where other top producers are raving about that. So, not a lot of top producers still in the mortgage industry are waving their own banners. I mean, social media is getting there, but it's not there yet. And so it's important for the owners, the brokers and the owners of the companies to take their top producers and testimonial that because you're advertising that health at that point.
Right. But I will tell you, I mean, I can tell you, I knew what Ramon's value proposition was to a loan officer. That's how much it was out there. I mean, literally, for me to be the president of the lender and know what his loan officer proposition is, that tells you how extensive of a program he was offering out there. So it just goes to show you he went from 0 4 months ago. Now, not everybody wants, like Zach just said, maybe the plan isn't to go to 100 or 40 or 50 or whatever the case may be, but these are great ideas to just think about, just resonate, and even if 6 months from now, it pops in your head and you say, oh, I remember hearing that. It's a great opportunity for you to take that. So wonderful point. All right, so Christine, I want to get into, okay, so now you've done some recruiting, okay? So we've done all different ways to recruit. How do you know it's the right fit? Now what?
Yeah, I think that you have to take every single one of those relationships and you have to be measuring it from the starting point in. And you talked about being a data person. I'm a wicked geek when it comes to analytics, and I spend a ton of time. Most owners or managers will do this. And those early symptoms, there's immediate, cultural fit. You kind of know, immediately when they get there, and you want to make it comfortable. And of course, the better your orientation plan, I think everybody should have an orientation plan.
Oh yeah, we're going to get to that one.
Yeah, and I won't get ahead, but it's got to feel like there's a system and that it's not ad hoc. And then you just have to make sure that you're communicating with them, but you especially have to watch if they're growing. They came to your business. Like, I think the biggest pressure we have as leaders is to ensure that we convince somebody to come to our fishing hole.
Right.
So they better damn well be fishing well when they get here. And so I think a lot of leaders need to be willing to, get in those trenches. And if they're not adhering to the new marketing strategy, if they're not adapting to all the products that are relevant right now, if they're just not locking in, I think you have to have somebody, if not you, there to tie those knots together for them. I used to lay up production to top producers that in those first 2 to 3 months, because listen, if you examine the lending industry, the attrition rate at like 6 months is staggering. Our industry attrition rate is 45%, but at the 6-month mark, there are companies, I won't name them, that have horrible plans. They pay really big upfront money, and then when the guarantee dries up, their system and their base and their foundational culture does not sustain the production.
Right.
LOs need to go like this, not like this. If they fall off the cliff at the end of 6 months because you gave them a fat guarantee, then that's a horrible plan, and your attrition rate's going to kill you. So health, immediate, you got to see them get traction. You got to be willing to jump in if they're not getting the traction. I would throw deals to my top producers, or have my guys throw deals to top producers to lock them down, because they're happy. At least they have time. Maybe it's taking them longer to acclimate, but don't allow that break to occur.
Right. Okay. Excellent. Okay. So Mike, when I met Mike yesterday, he told me he had 156 loan officers, but a few moments ago, he's at a 158. So we've gained 2 just in a short amount of time. All right. So Mike, you've grown now to 158 loan officers in 18 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've only been broken for a year and a half. That's it.
Yeah, year and a half. Okay, so right there, I just happened. That's wonderful. All right, so congratulations on that. Congratulations. But what I want to know, not about how you did it, that's fantastic, we've established some of that. I actually want to know a little bit of lessons learned.
Well, so I think lessons learned feeds into a little bit of how do you do it, what do you offer, right? Because we learned early on, so I was like a lot of people, right? I was a pure broker back in the day. Financial crisis ruined me. I went over to retail, right? How many followed my path, right? And then things started to look a little bit better. So a year and a half ago, we said, you know what, let's go to this broker thing. Let's try this broker thing because it seems like it's a lot better, and I keep hearing about these things. But I had all the same concepts that another retail loan officer did, even though I was a broker in the past, and I still had love for it. So I bought into the brokers lose control, and I was selling that lie, you know, so many times. And so I had a little bit of a prejudice to it going in, and a little bit, you know, crooked eye. But we went in and learned that, you know, coming from that retail side, right, those retail guys get tremendous amounts of support.
Yep.
Right? If you actually think, to us, our primary recruiting source is purely retail, right? Because we only go after experienced folks. I will not bring in a brand new loan officer to our organization. If they don't have a book of business and they cannot produce, then we're probably not a good fit for them.
Okay.
That's just the way it is. Or they have to go onto one of our teams that can support that a lot better. And we do have folks like that. But you know, we learned the pains early on. I came into it, even being brokered in the past. Now, my partner, Matt Grella, he didn't broker in the past, so this was a new concept to him. He grew up in the retail world. And so we had to learn that, you know, you go from one employer and one login to however many lenders you have. We have 60 different lenders with 60 different logins, right? And so you're like a deer in headlights all of a sudden when you go into this world, and you're just, you gotta fuddle through it. You gotta figure this out, right? And then of course, as a broker owner, you gotta deal with all the other stuff that goes into it. But when you're at a retail place, this is done for you, right? You have an entire marketing team. If you have a problem with your payroll, there's a person for that. If you want to talk to somebody for something one-on-one, you can do those things, right? You have scenario people, a scenario desk with the underwriters maybe, things of that nature, right? So we created a platform.
And that IT department to
and
help
then
with
an
those
IT
logins.
department, right? Everything. There's somebody for that in the retail world. And when you come to a broker shop, and this is where the brokers, if they really want to grow, you have to put the platform together that these folks are used to. And you have to have this massive level of support, right? Anywhere from, I mean, between Matt and I, any loan officer or employee or assistant or process, anybody in the company can get Matt or I on the click of a button, and you can walk into my office. I don't care if we had somebody on vacation in Europe and they had a problem with the file and they wanted to talk to me face to face. You can do that at any time during business hours, guaranteed, right? You can reach us. Those levels of support. We have full-time people in our support teams, licensed people in our support teams.
And I will tell all of you, Mike showed me this yesterday, and I walked away extremely impressed. I absolutely did. And can you share with everyone what you're using? What technology?
So we use online video platforms, right? We use Zoom. We had to upgrade our model, but you really want to freak out my team back at home, you know, go to nextmortgage.com. In the upper right corner, you'll see live video support. Click on it. Somebody's going to be looking at you and asking how they can help you. And you can see an example, and from that, you can ask for any question you have. I have a problem with my payroll. I want to talk to Mike. I'm not getting what I was promised. I have a loan scenario. I can't get DU to approve. I want a second set of eyes on it, right? I need help on a marketing platform. It doesn't matter what they need help with. You have to be able to provide it if you're going to compete against these retail guys that are providing these types of platforms. You know, but you got to learn how to do it within Max 275.
Right.
Right? And so there's where you have to do it. And that's where we use technology. But you've got to use the right technology.
That's right.
So to have technology is great. But you got to use the technology you have. Otherwise, it's a waste of money. Right? So you got to use the right technology.
Is there anything else you're using that maybe you want to share with everyone that really does help your business and be able to service and support your team? Is there anything else? Just
so we have a Nexus University platform, right, that is all cloud-based, and so loan officers can, at any given, multiple training classes all week long that we hold, right? And our support members have to hold certain training classes, whether it's about compliance or lenders or vendors, different learning processes. So loan officers around the country can learn at any given time. And then each one of those are recorded and put into our Next University
Good, so
platform.
they're all on demand.
That's
you know,
correct. So
that
they
type
can
of
go
thing.
back and review
Okay.
those at any given time, so.
All right, and I know that ties,
Or you could call 2020 vision.
I know that ties, go ahead, Ramon.
Yeah, and you guys know what he means when he says like max. You got to do it within max 275.
Yeah.
He's talking about the comp. He's talking about the comp, our broker comp, right?
Yep.
We can't go make like some of the retail lenders on a FHA or VA deal will make 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. You guys, I don't even know if you guys realize it. And then pay the retail LO 90 bips on it.
Right.
It's craziness. But yeah, we have to make it fit within that comp level. So that's one thing you really have to measure too. Really keep in touch. Like all of these offerings that we're talking about and the support that we're talking about, it all comes at a cost. So you have to make sure that you're paying that LO. You have to make sure they're paying them enough, but there's still enough meat on the bone for you to be profitable and to pay for all these expenses, right? So for our company, we run. I don't mind telling everybody. People, one time somebody asked me, and I was like, I told them, I've been telling people ever since. So we run at 250, right? We want to stay kind of competitive. So that's as a company, but all our LOs are at 150, right? 'Cause I had to pull that up over what the average retail lenders were offering in my area. And then you can even, if you hit certain levels, if you are a producer, you can start to get into a bonus structure as well that can get you up to another 50 bips if you're, if you're. So I'm willing to give back a lot. I don't need to make. I'm a lead guy, right? When you're working with Lending Tree, you make small margins on these loans. So my whole philosophy is more of a unit game, right? So and you just have to figure out through and through, from the beginning to the end, what your identity is, what your true value proposition is, how you're going to make money, what level of support are you going to give the loan officer. So there's a lot of questions that have to be answered in order for you to have an effective strategy. And I think once you answer all those questions, you pin those down, then you'll be desirable to the LOs.
Right, and I think that's the key. I think there has to be a foundation first, even if it's just the plan of kind of thinking it through, because you want people to stick. You want to make sure that you're never going to get 100%, but you certainly do want to make sure that they stick. Absolutely. Let me go back to the education, because I know that's a very big point with you, Christine, and I know throughout your entire career, it's all been about education and training. So share a little bit of your thought process of the importance of that, and especially with bringing new team members into a group.
So, I mean, education, you talked about training and having that as an extra value proposition. So I was tasked in 2008 when the industry was emerging over to purchase, or at least we could see down the road that the refi model was drying up. How do we create a value proposition that attracts LOs and then grows their business? So I grew an educational platform for realtors within the lending institution I was at, and I grew that to 46,000 subscriptions, to billions of dollars, to 576 LOs, and from I think 4 branches we started with all the way to 76 branches. And we did that through that education, because here's what I know, is people want to better themselves. Here's what I also know is, and this is no offense to loan officers, but we learn, I'm going to say we because I've originated my whole career, we learn at our attention span rate. So you have the ability to bring education in a way that helps them grow their businesses, but they want to do it on their own time.
Sure.
So all the educational platforms, it sounds like the one that you're using as well, that I've built and currently have with 2020 even, is loan officers can train at 1 o'clock in the morning. They can go down a syllabus of 1 year and enhance their skills that way. But it's easy to get the horses to come, but getting them to drink the water is a little bit different. So you kind of have to have, what I find is this, if you really want to get the most out of your LOs, you've got to have an accountability system. So you've either got to have training that grades them and breaks the education down into chapters that is collecting grades and then feeding it to you, Laura, hey, your 80 people, watched it and they got graded at X. Or there's got to be a human being there where there's some sort of checkpoints going on. And you can't mail that away. Like, I have learned that that's the missing link. I had a lot of branch managers come up underneath me, and they would show up at the meetings, and they would get their LOs to come to the education, or they'd invite them to the education webinars that our company was putting on, and then they would call it, you know, they felt like they had checked the box and done what they wanted to do as managers. I had a failed rollout of a CRM system to the tune of about $380,000 because 30% of 500 guys were showing up for my webinars, which the previous complaint, the previous year, hear me out, is that it wasn't done enough on different times. So we put it in all different time buckets. The LOs, only 30% showed up, we found out afterwards. Then we examined, you know, why they put in IT tickets for the CRMs. Anyways, we got to the point where we realized we were either gonna walk away from this loss or we were gonna take it one more time and do a re-roll.
Right.
And so what we did at that point with the education is we made them accountable for showing up. We made managers accountable to make sure they got there. And then we made it accountable that they be graded. And then we made a pilot team out of top producers, and then it stuck. And we saw a 40% increase. But it took that level of accountability to get there.
And that brings me to a good point, okay, kind of sidebar of education. So engagement, okay, I'm just, okay, so now we've recruited, we've hired, we have them on board, we're educating. So Zach, how do you engage them? How do you keep them motivated? How do you keep them engaged? How do you keep them, you know, I'm on your team and I'm raising the flag and I'm out there and I'm bringing families to you and bringing them home?
Sure. So I can go in a couple different directions with this one, but the big stickiness of our organization has always been culture. I believe that you recruit into culture. So having a very competitive comp plan is extremely important, but it's not always the most important thing. You know, we're up here, we're also talking about recruiting LOs, but what about recruiting just all individuals into your organization? People by nature, they want to feel special, and people like perks. You know, even LOs who are making $300,000 a year in an organization, if you give them a, you know, an accolade or they win a gift or something like that, they'll die for you.
I agree.
It's absolutely crazy. So if somebody's coming to you for the money, the chances are is that they're going to leave you for money as well. And that's something that we make sure that we're up on the culture always. So we really are a team concept. The great thing about our organization is that everybody in our organization, we breed an abundance mindset. So, you know, everybody, whether they're benefiting financially or not, each loan officer offers to help other loan officers. We've always gone after the big fish in our market. It's just been our thing. So if an LO in an organization has a big account they want to go after, they're going to ask 3 or 4 of the other LOs in the office to go along with them, and those LOs, whether they're going to benefit from it or not, are going to go because they know if they had the same opportunity, the other people are going to do that. So it's a big team mindset.
I have to tell you, I hope everybody heard that, because that's very, very key. And literally, the reason why we're here at this moment is because AIME brought all of us together, right? And I said this earlier, and I will say this forever. Before, I've been in this business for a very long time, and before AIME, there was not this camaraderie. There was not this collaboration. And every time, it doesn't matter how many times I get up on the stage, it doesn't matter, because I'm always so blown away by the fact that all of these experts, regardless of what our topic is, they're open, they're sharing, they're talking about comp plans, they're talking about technology, they're talking about how they're going after this market. That didn't exist. And the fact that they're sharing this, please take note and realize that this is valuable information, that everyone should really just have it resonate a moment. So I really, kudos to that. Thank you so much. Even those little things about having a team effort and being able to say, hey, I'm going after that big account. And the reason why they're helping is because they know when they need help, they're going with them.
Yeah, we also
That's amazing.
We also get our loan officers to stick and realize that, you know, what he's saying about the retail model and bringing people over. And it's not just retail model, it's corporate model. People go work corporate jobs, they expect corporate benefits. So that's one thing we strive for a very long time. There are not broker shops in my market who are offering benefits and 401k. I mean, we offer a full 401k plan with a very aggressive match. We offer full health benefits. It wasn't always like that. You can work your way up. So people, they want benefits. They want to feel secure for their family. Even if you're not paying them the highest comp plan around and they get those intangible benefits, they're going to stick with you. It's important to invest back into your loan officers, into education, to systems, to tools, the things that they're not capable or not willing to do right at the beginning until they learn it. So we're constantly creating opportunities. We'll put on major events in our marketplace, and we'll tell the LOs there's no cost. Just bring realtors, bring other peoples, bring loan officers. We're constantly just pouring into them that really they realize that the grass is not greener on the other side. You have to build so much value that when people, if they leave your organization for some reason, they go somewhere else, they don't believe, they don't believe there's anything better out there for them, and you have to show that every single day. It's just like complacency with our borrowers, or we start having a great month. You can't be complacent with your loan officers and building your business. You constantly have to be bringing value to them, making them feel special, and having them believe that you're the best place for them, regardless of how much they're making on each deal.
Keep watering, right? Keep watering. If you don't water, it's going to die. Absolutely. Now, Ramon, I know we're at 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I know one of the questions was, you have figured out some missing component in this recruiting effort. And you have found that there was something that, as you're speaking to these loan officers and trying to recruit, you found there's a void or something that was missing that they're looking for. I have to know what the answer is. What's the answer?
Yeah, so it's the same thing completely across the board, and it's interesting. It's like 70% of the loan officers that came over to my company, when I look at their employment history, on average, they probably worked for about 2.6 companies in the last 5 years. So that tells me from the outset that statistically they're likely to leave me in a certain period of time.
Mathematically.
When a market dynamic changes or this, I don't know what it's going to be into the future, but just by the very nature of a loan officer, they tend to move jobs, right? So what I wanted to do, I was like, well, I got to figure out what the problem is. Like, why are you guys moving? It's because they think the grass is always greener on the other side, right? And you look at culture, like there are a lot of talk about culture up here and putting together a good package. But if you look at I really respect a lot of the retail lenders out there for the culture that they've been able to put together. Like when I talk to Fairway loan officers, they never say anything bad about Fairway. Fairway loan officers love Fairway. I try to pull something bad out. I was like, do you know that they made 5 points on that? They're like, oh yeah, but it's okay. They're good. That's right? I'm like, God, you guys are nuts. But I'm like, wow, I have no interest in trying to duplicate that. That's just not who I am. I'm a lead buying guy. I'm a data guy. My strength is in just getting after the money, right? Turning it around. So if you're going to work at my company, you're going to want to make money. That's the whole idea. That's why you're coming over to Mount Diablo Lending. So none of these companies, no matter how good their culture are, you know what their strategy for getting loans in the door is? Hiring more loan officers. So what does that do for the loan officer? Absolutely nothing. It gives them support, but you can get the support anywhere. You can go to, and there's so many vendors out there as well. You can go to List Reports, HomeBot, this company, that company. There's a lot of third-party companies where you can get great support for your CRM or this or that. So the technology is out there, but what nobody speaks to is, how do I help this loan officer as a company owner do more deals? There's only one place I really see it, and that's with builder accounts. Like they'll give you a builder account, or they may give you a JV or something like that, right? But that's still kind of hard. It's almost like they're just giving you a desk somewhere. But it's really up to you. Like, here goes a couple tools. Go out there and go fish. Go out there and go get the business, right? And we all know that's the hardest part. It doesn't matter. We're loan officers, but I don't care if you're a veterinarian, a doctor, a lawyer. If you want to go independent and start your own business, it's all about client acquisition. It's all about lead aggregation. Nobody wants to tackle that issue. It's the issue that I love. It's the issue that I've dealt with that's how I entered this business, right? I entered this business with my sphere of influence sucked. I was like, none of you guys, none of my friends are buying any houses, right? So I had to figure out, how do I get in front of people that actually want to buy houses? And that's when I put that $500 into Zillow 6 years ago, right? Right? And then
I think it was a good investment.
right, it's grown exponentially. Because in my highest year, I spent $1 million on leads. Okay, so with LendingTree being the leader on that, LendingTree took about 650,000 of that, 350 going to a bunch of other places, right? So what I've decided to do now, I'm tired of LendingTree. I'm tired of Zillow. You see what they've done to us, right? We won't go down there, but they want to be the practitioner now. So I'm kind of done with these companies. I've been in lead and data university on the street, on Main Street for the last 6 years, getting knowledge. I really understand what it is that they're doing in order to get the leads in. I could do this myself. I am doing this myself. So what I decided to do was, the first system that I'm working on, so the short of it is, if you come to my company and you're doing 3 deals a month, I am going to help you get to 5 deals. And I think, and in my opinion, that is the best golden handcuffs that you could possibly have, or I can possibly have with you, right? You're going to stick with me if I'm able to help generate business together with you, right? So
and a good culture.
Yeah. So
Ramon has no culture.
He just gives leads.
So the first thing I've done, I'll tell you guys exactly what we're working on. The first one is it's a FHA VA strategy. So what I've done is I've gone through, and we're still in a test phase. Engineers are still building this out. So where Washington, Oregon, California, there's about 900,000 FHA and VA households. I bought the data for all of that. I'm a big data guy. I want to buy all the loan officers in all my states. I want to buy all the FHA loans in all the states that I am approved in. So now what we're developing, everybody knows FHA streamlines, VA streamlines, right? And we recognize that a lot of those people have been taken advantage of because the rates that they were getting were much higher than what they should have been getting, right? So what I want to do is I want to pull all that data in. I want to get out in front of all these people, and I want my team, this is not to be sold. I'm not making a lead company. This is proprietary for my loan officers that are on my panel, right? So what we'll do is we have all this data, then we have a conduit through like a website where somebody can go on, so you have an FHA loan, you can go on and put on your address. It's automatically going to say, congratulations, Mr. Smith, because that data is already in the database, right? Gives all their information or whatnot, okay? Then we give what we're proposing, what our offer is, then the call to action, right? The way we're getting out in front of these people is through Facebook on a county level. So basically, I'm in Contra Costa County. There's a simple Facebook ad that says, FHA VA homeowners, you're eligible for interest rate deduction. Click here, right, to see. And then that takes them out to the website. They put their address in, congratulations. But all those leads go to my LOs and my Ls only, exclusively for them. So that's one of the first projects, and that's linked into our CRM, and then they'll have sort of like a similar to HomeBot thing that's pegging them all the time. So for me, the value proposition is outside of the rates and the execution and the good, and the fact that you can make 150 bips per deal. The big piece is that I'm helping you get more deals. You do 3 deals, in a couple months you're going to be doing 5. You do no deals, but you're very ambitious. You're getting out there, you're hustling, you're doing open houses, you're trying to get in front of realtors. Well, let's get you started. Let's shorten up that cycle. Normally it would have took you 6 to 9 months to make your first money, but let me give you some leads, teach you how to work this, so that way in 60 days you can get paid, right? So that's the real value proposition that we're giving. That's what I think is going to allow us to grow exponentially. And that's just one phase of the organic sort of lead generation that we're doing. And we also got invited, because of all the stuff that we've done, we got invited to the Brand Accelerator program through Google, where Google acts as our ad agency. So now I have Google kind of working on some stuff for me as well while I'm building my own. So it's going to be I don't know exactly how it's all going to come together, but it's going to come together, and I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and what I get out of that, which of course that's amazing, and all of us, well, some of us are going, oh, that's great that Ramon is a data guy. I'm not a data guy. I have no idea, how to accomplish that. I think the biggest takeaway, and for everybody on this panel, is that you don't have to do what Ramon's doing or what Mike's doing or Christine or Zach. you have to think of what works for your organization and kind of what strength and what thing. I mean, Mike mentioned to me yesterday that every day is payday.
Yeah.
I thought that was something that he does at his company. And I actually want you to share that because that's unique. That's something you're doing.
It's difficult, right? So,
Challenging.
Remember, whenever you commit to something, like at Nexa, we have this commitment to being not just the best at a couple things, right? First of all, you're all brokers. You already have the number one thing that these retail guys are looking for, rates and products. They cannot compete. So you've already got a best, right? But at Nexa, we really struggle to be the best at everything, right? Compensation, support, benefit packages, it just doesn't matter. But everyday payday was something that we started from the get-go because I run a business. I get paid every day, right? You're a broker owner. You get paid the moment that loan funds, right? And your loan officer, for all intents and purposes, are supposed to be running a business. So why aren't you paying them every day? You get paid. Why can't they get paid? It takes a commitment, by the way, I will tell you, because you've got to process payroll every single time one comes through. There's no holdback.
The first thing I said to him is that must be very stressful on your accounting team.
Yeah, and they deserve a special place.
Shout out to the accounting team.
Yes, shout out to our accounting teams. And it's difficult to do it, but they do it, and they're committed to it. And we had to stay ultra committed to that. And there was a movement at one point to maybe pull away from that because it was too much. And Matt,
freak out.
Yeah.
Well, it was only an internal talk, but Matt and I talked, and we said, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Right.
We
And
will
that
commit
takes-
to this.
you're committed
We
to
will
it.
commit to this, and we will not sway from it, right?
Right.
So everyday payday is important. And then another thing that we do is we give every loan officer in the company a credit card.
Right.
I get to write taxes off. W-2, our loan officers in most states are W-2. Some are 1099 and they get that benefit. But if you're a W-2 employee, you don't get the tax benefits anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well that's crap. That's not fair. I get to write that stuff off as a business. So I give our loan officers, they're running a business. They all, and I'm sure my wife loves this, but they all have a credit card on our personal credit, on our Amex account, that allows them to put the tax returns on our bill, right? So, or their bills on our tax returns. So we give them that benefit as if they're an owner as well. It's just those levels of commitment.
And those are the little things. Those are the things that are unique. Those are the things that are different. And you've kind of identified that just in having conversations, right? Being open. So we're running out of time. So Christine, is there anything you want to kind of wrap up?
No, I just think you have to have a good value proposition. You can't be afraid to fish in the big end of the pool. Be patient. When you get good guys, make the experience robust. I'm a culture girl, Ramon, sorry, but, I think that recognition and fun and, all that stuff is important. And, you got to have an A game. This is not, I've said it all year, it's not the year for B. Don't bring your B game.
No. Well, you guys have a great opportunity. Just want to let you guys know that I guess we're out of time at this moment. The Mix and Mingle, sponsored by AFR, is going to be right after the event, and this panel will be there. So if you do want to continue the conversation, you certainly can speak with them. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
You.